The rain doesn't ask for your passport. The flood doesn't care about your border. So why do we keep pretending survival is a solo act? When we name India as the cause, we risk silencing the deeper truth that nature doesn't respect borders, but politics often weaponizes them. And that truth matters. Because the rain doesn't ask for permission, the river doesn't check your passport, the flood doesn't stop at a checkpoint. Water flows, it destroys, it takes everything in its way. But humans love a story. And the easiest story, blame. Point the finger, call out the villain. It's them. It's India. It's always somebody else. It's neat. It's simple. It gives us a target, but it doesn't give us power. It doesn't give us change. It doesn't protect a single child from drowning, a single home from collapsing, a single mother from wading through chest-deep water carrying her baby in her arms. Blame feels good in the moment, but blame keeps us small. Here's the truth you don't want to hear. Nature is indifferent. It doesn't care about your politics, your nationalism, your borders. Nature is raw, ruthless, and real. Floods don't wait for permission from a neighboring country. They just come. And if we stay stuck in the story of a who did this to us, we never face the bigger question. What are we doing about it? You see, when you hand all the power to the villain in your story, you strip yourself of agency. You tell yourself, I am helpless. I can only suffer. And that, my friends, is a dangerous lie. Because the moment you believe you are powerless, you are. Yes, geopolitics matter. Yes, water management across borders matters. But so does resilience. So does preparation. So does the courage to say, we will not drown in the same story again and again. Every year, the same cycle repeats. Floods come, lives are lost, crops are destroyed, families displaced. And then what? We argue, we point fingers, we rage. And then the water dries up and nothing changes. Until the next time. That is the loop of blame. That is the cycle of helplessness. And it is killing us more than the floods. So let's break it. Right here, right now, we cannot control the rain, but we can control our response. We cannot stop the rivers from swelling, but we can build systems that anticipate it. We cannot erase the politics, but we can demand accountability, not just from others, but from ourselves. This is not about choosing between India or Pakistan, good or evil, blame or denial. This is about choosing between staying in the victim story or stepping into the survival story. Think about it. The same water that destroys also nourishes. The same rivers that flood also feed. The difference is not the river. The difference is what we do with it. Do we invest in infrastructure? Do we train communities in disaster readiness? Do we use technology, satellite data, real-time monitoring to get ahead of the flood? Or do we keep playing the same game of political ping pong while people drown? Here's the challenge. Stop looking for the villain. Start building the solution. Because when you tell the story of the flood as of their fault, you wait for them to fix it, and they won't. Not fast enough, not fully enough. And meanwhile, your people suffer, your children pay the price. Your future drowns. But when you shift the story to our responsibility, everything changes. Responsibility is not a burden. It is freedom. Responsibility is not blame. It is agency. It means we act, we prepare, we fight back. So next time the water rises, don't ask, who caused this? Ask, what will we do now? Don't get stuck in the story of villains. Write the story of resilience, of unity, of survival. Because the rain doesn't care, the river doesn't care. But we have to care, we have to step up, or the flood will always win. This is not about borders. This is about courage. And courage, my friends, is the only thing that builds a future. Blame may give us clarity, but responsibility is what gives us power. Let's be real. Blame is seductive. It's quick. It's sharp. It feels good for a moment. It's a release. It's their fault. They did this, not me. And in that moment, you feel lighter. But here's the catch. Blame doesn't move you forward. Blame doesn't rebuild the home that washed away. Blame doesn't feed the family whose crops were destroyed. Blame doesn't stop the next flood. Blame freezes you in place. Responsibility moves you forward. We think clarity is enough. We think naming the problem is the solution. It's because of India. It's because of politics. It's because of corruption. It's because of climate change. And yes, those are truths. But knowing the truth is not the same as owning the truth. Naming the problem doesn't fix the problem. Responsibility is the bridge between knowing and changing. And here's the hard part. Responsibility feels heavier at first. It means admitting that we can't just sit back and point fingers. It means admitting that we have choices even in crisis. It means admitting that our survival is on us. That's scary, but it's also liberating, because when you accept responsibility, you stop waiting. You stop hoping someone else will save you. You start acting. Let me say it again. Blame feels good. Responsibility makes you powerful. Think about your own life. Every time you blame someone else, what happened?
You felt right. Maybe you felt justified.
But did your life change? Did your situation improve?
No, because blame is a pause button. Responsibility is a play button. Responsibility is energy.
Responsibility is progress. Floods don't wait. Nature doesn't wait. And if we waste our energy on blame, we stay unprepared. Every year, the same story repeats. Flood, loss. Outrage, silence, repeat. Why? Because we mistake clarity for power. But clarity without responsibility is useless. Responsibility is saying, yes, this is the reality, and here is what I'm doing about it. Responsibility is taking your grief, your anger, your fear, and turning it into action. Responsibility is demanding accountability from leaders, but also demanding courage from yourself. Responsibility is building higher, planning smarter, preparing faster. Responsibility is what turns tragedy into resilience. And I know it's easier said than done. Responsibility is hard. What part do I play in this? What can I do now? And that's uncomfortable. And that's uncomfortable because it strips away excuses. It strips away the comfort of helplessness, but it's also the only path to freedom. Here's the truth. If you give away responsibility, you give away your future. You hand it to the very people you blame. You say, my life is in your hands. And that is dangerous because when they fail you, and they will, you drown with them. But when you claim responsibility, you take back your power. You stand taller. You stop waiting. You become the author of your own story. So here's my challenge. Stop asking who's at fault. Start asking, what's my role? What's my move? What's my responsibility right now? Because clarity without action is just noise. But responsibility, it transforms you. It transforms communities. It transforms nations. Blame may give you clarity. Responsibility gives you power. And power, my friends, is what we need to survive. Power is what we need to rebuild. Power is what we need to face the flood and rise. Floods devastate, but it is our narratives that determine whether we rebuild walls or build bridges. Yes, the water takes everything. It takes homes. It takes lives. It takes futures. That devastation is real. But what we do with that devastation, that's the story that shapes everything that comes after. Because after the flood, there is always a choice. Do we shut down? Do we harden ourselves? Do we retreat into anger, into isolation, into walls that keep us safe, but also keep us small? Or do we take the wreckage, the pain, the loss, and use it as the raw material to build connection, to build cooperation, to build bridges that carry us forward? Walls or bridges? That's the choice every single time. And let's be honest, walls feel easier. Blame feels easier. It's their fault. It's their water. It's their dam. That story protects us from facing the hard truth. That survival depends not only on what others do to us, but on what we do for ourselves. Walls protect us in the short term, but they isolate us in the long term, and isolation is not survival. Survival comes from bridges to knowledge, bridges to technology, bridges to accountability, bridges across communities, across provinces, across borders. Because the flood doesn't care about your walls. The flood doesn't care about your boundaries. The flood doesn't care about your politics. He doesn't care about your politics. That's us all. The flood only cares about force, and force will always win unless we face it together. Think about it. When the flood comes, do you want to be alone in your house, trapped behind walls? Or do you want to be standing with your neighbors on higher ground with a plan, with a bridge that leads to safety? It's the same with nations. We can keep repeating the narrative of separation. Us versus them. Us versus them. How we are the villains. Or we can rewrite the narrative. This is our shared planet. This is our shared crisis. This is our shared responsibility. That's not weakness. That's power. Real power. Because the truth is, water unites us whether we like it or not. The rivers flow across borders. The rains fall on both sides. The destruction doesn't check passports, so the choice is simple. Either we let water divide us, or we use water to unite us. And here's where narrative matters. The story you tell is the life you live. If the story is always, we are powerless, then you live powerless. Then you live powerless. If the story is always they are to blame, then you live in blame. But if the story becomes, we are resilient, we adapt, we create, we rebuild, then you live empowered. You live as a force that no flood can drown. Walls or bridges, stories of blame or stories of resilience. That's the fork in the road. And I'm not asking you to be naive. I'm not asking you to ignore injustice. Yes, demand accountability. Yes, call out wrongdoing. Oh, but duck there. Don't stay frozen in that single frame of the story, because blame is not the end of the story. It's only the beginning. The real story is what you build after. We need to build systems. We need to build communities that can withstand disaster. We need to build trust across divides. And none of that happens if we only build walls. So the next time devastation hits, and it will, you have a choice. Will you rebuild a wall or will you build a bridge because floods devastate? That's inevitable. But what happens next, that's on us. That's our story to write. And the story we write determines whether we survive or whether we keep drowning in the same cycle year after year. Floods devastate, but narratives rebuild. Write the story that builds bridges. Write the story that makes survival possible. Write the story that makes a future worth fighting for. The river does not know the passport of the rain, yet we humans make it a story of us versus them. That's the insanity. That's the tragedy. Nature doesn't care about our borders. The monsoon doesn't stop at a checkpoint. The flood doesn't ask, are you Indian or Pakistani? The rain falls. The river swells. The water rises. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't take sides. It just flows. And yet we do. We turn it into a weapon. We turn it into a blame game. We turn it into a war story. But the river is not our enemy. The rain is not our enemy. Our enemy is the story we keep telling ourselves. The story of division. The story of borders. The story of us versus them. And here's the thing, that story might feel powerful in the short term. It unites us in anger. It makes us feel righteous. It gives us a villain. But in the long run, that story drowns us. That story keeps us small. That story keeps us repeating the same devastation again and again. While we're locked in the old narrative, families are losing homes, children are losing futures, farmers are losing everything they own. The water does not care about our story. The water is writing its own, and right now it's winning. We need a new story, a story that doesn't stop at the border, a story that doesn't end with blame, a story that begins with, we are in this together, because the truth is, whether you like it or not, we are. The flood is not national. The flood is human, and if we don't start telling the human story, we will keep living the victim's story. Ask yourself, what has us versus them given us? Has it stopped the floods? Has it rebuilt the villages? Has it saved the lives lost year after year? No. What it has given us is distraction, delay, denial. And meanwhile, the water keeps rising. I'm here to tell you the truth. The border is in our heads more than it is in the river. The border is in our stories more than it is in the soil. And if we can change the story, we can change the outcome. Imagine if the story was not, they did this to us, but E will not let this destroy us. Imagine if the story was not a flood is an enemy, but how the flood is a force we can prepare for, we can adapt to, we can survive. Imagine if the story was not, oh, we are powerless, but oh, we are resourceful, we are resilient, we are ready. That story changes everything. That story gives us back our agency. That story moves us from blame to action. That story doesn't erase the border, but it makes it irrelevant when the stakes are life and death. Because here's the truth. The flood is bigger than politics. The rain is bigger than nations. The river is bigger than the story of us versus them. And until we start acting like it, until we start building systems that match the size of the problem, we will keep losing. So the next time you hear the old story, it's them fault, it's us versus them. Stop, don't blame. Don't repeat it. Ask yourself, what story am I choosing right now? Am I choosing division? Or am I choosing survival? Am I building walls or am I building solutions? The river does not know the passport of the rain, but you get to decide the story you tell about it. And the story you tell is the story you live. So choose wisely. Choose the story that saves lives. Choose the story that builds resilience. Choose the story that makes the border irrelevant when the water rises. Choose the story that makes us stronger than the flood. Accountability across borders is not weakness. It is the only way survival becomes possible. Let's get real. The flood doesn't care if you're standing in Lahore or Delhi. The rain doesn't care about your flag. The river doesn't care about your anthem. Nature doesn't stop at a border, and neither does disaster. Yet we act as if survival is a solo act, as if one country can stand against the force of nature while the other sits back. That's not survival. That's suicide. Accountability is not a soft word. Accountability is not surrender. Accountability is strength. Accountability is saying, ooh, we all have skin in this game. We all take responsibility. We all step up. Because if one side fails, everyone pays the price. If one side hides the truth, the other side drowns in lies. If one side refuses cooperation, the whole region suffers, and whole region suffers. And let's be honest, avoiding accountability is easy. It's seductive. It's the oldest trick in the book. Just point fingers. Just shift the blame. Just say, not my problem. But that trick is deadly when it comes to floods because water doesn't wait for excuses. Water doesn't wait for paperwork. Water doesn't wait for your political speeches. Water just comes. Here's the truth. Accountability is survival. Without it, we repeat the same tragedy. With it, we stand a chance. Accountability means sharing data. Accountability means managing dams responsibly. Accountability means telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Accountability means putting human lives above national pride. That's not weakness. That's courage. That's leadership. That's strength history remembers. But here's the catch. Accountability across borders only works if we demand it. From both sides. And from ourselves. Because accountability doesn't start in some big office. It starts in our mindset. It starts when we decide that we are done with excuses. It starts when we say, hey, we deserve the truth. We deserve preparation. We deserve leaders who put survival above politics. And if they don't, then we hold them to account loudly, relentlessly, consistently, because silence is complicity. Denial is complicity. Waiting for someone else to fix it is complicity. And complicity costs lives. Every year, we pay that price. So I'm asking you to change the script. Stop saying accountability is weakness. Stop saying cooperation makes us soft. Start saying accountability makes us powerful. Cooperation makes us unshakable. Truth makes us resilient. Think about it. Yeah. Do you want to be the generation that kept drowning in the same water, repeating the same story, stuck in the same blame game? Or do you want to be the generation that said, enough, no more. We will not trade lives for politics. We will not trade futures for excuses. We will not pretend survival is a solo act. This is not about surrender. This is about survival. This is not about weakness. This is about strength. The kind of strength that says, I will stand with you because if you fall, I fall too. The kind of strength that knows survival is collective. Floods don't ask permission. Floods don't wait for borders to be negotiated. And neither should accountability. It must be demanded now. It must be lived now. It must be enforced now. Because accountability across borders is not weakness. It is the only way survival becomes possible. And survival, real survival, requires all of us together or not at all.